Welcome to the Seth Joyner Show this week. And do we really have a quagmire going on with the Philadelphia Eagles organization? Today, it was announced that Jalen Hurts will be the starting quarterback this week for the Philadelphia Eagles facing the New Orleans Saints. Joining me later on will be Brian Baldinger. He's got some NFL Network responsibilities, but he'll join me later on, and we'll have some conversation talking about, what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles. So much to jump into. So, listen, I'm going to take some of you guys' questions tonight, have some conversation leading up to Brian actually joining the show. Working on some videos that I'd like to share with you guys to kind of, give you some ideas and some thoughts about, what I see going on with the Eagles. There's just a lot of talk about who should be the starting quarterback for this football team. Listen, don't get me wrong. I'm in no way advocating for Jalen Hurts to be the new starter for the Philadelphia Eagles, because we know, at the end of the day, they've got too much money wrapped up in the Carson Wentz to throw in the towel. I just think, it's just my opinion, that Carson Wentz is fundamentally broken and he's flawed right now. And it happens. It happens to everybody. And I think he'd be better served at this point in time just sitting out the rest of the season to get his mental side back together and just regroup. And then you come into next year and you just give him a fresh start. I mean, this entire team needs a fresh start. Whether Jeffrey Lurie makes the decision to shake up the entire organization from top to bottom, or whether the Philadelphia Eagles decide to, stay with both Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson for another year, this team needs a reset. The injuries have decimated this football team, and I think that in large part has a lot to do with, the play of the football team, the construction of the football team, and the reason why this football team right now is 3-8-1. And sitting in the midst of a quarterback controversy. I think Jalen Hurts gave this team a spark. And if you guys can remember, I probably said 3-4 weeks ago that the Eagles should have made this move. They needed to make the move because you could see from the time that Jalen Hurts came in the game that everybody, offense, defense, and special teams, there was this jolt of energy on the team, if you will. And for a split second, for a while, they gave us the impression, they gave us at least a feeling of hope that they might, actually come back and make this a game. And they did. They got within, a touchdown of tying the game and possibly getting into overtime. But Carson Wentz has another lackluster day. It didn't turn the ball over, but, not a whole lot of offense at all. And Doug Peterson in the third quarter makes the decision to go to Jalen Hurts. And what do we see? I've said this many, many times. I said, if Jalen Hurts is not ready to play, and we've been hearing this from a lot of people, oh, Jalen Hurts is not ready to play. He's just a rookie. He's not ready to play. Then someone explained to me why it is that Jalen Hurts since week 2 has been the backup quarterback. Let's think about this, from a logical standpoint. And people can talk about, and I've heard it all, people said, well, if Carson gets hurt, then Jalen Hurts will finish the game. And then the next week, Nate Sudfeld will step in and be the starting quarterback, and Jalen Hurts will still be the gadget guy and the backup guy. But that makes no sense. Not from the onset of week 2. If you told me that was the plan now, and Carson, was playing halfway decent, I could understand that. But I'm not buying, that he wasn't ready, because you don't dress him as the number 2 quarterback for 11 weeks on a look and see trial and basis and just for a gadget situation. Because listen, at the end of the day, he only got 2 to 3 plays a game. You're not risking winning a game if the circumstances are different with a rookie quarterback if you think he's not ready. So the question is, why in the world? Why did it take so long for Doug to make this adjustment? Why did it take him so long to just put him in and give him an opportunity when Carson was struggling? Because he wasn't just struggling this week. Carson's been struggling for 12 weeks. 12 weeks nonstop. Okay, so let's deal with all the peripheral things. Yes, the offensive line has played terrible. The injuries have decimated it. There's this thought that the receivers don't get open, okay? And I've gotten one of my film today. If we can get it uploaded, I'm going to tell you right now, you'll see that not only are there 2 wide receivers open, but Carson underthrows a Dallas guard in a one-on-one situation where he beats Bobby Wagner against the Seattle Seahawks. The problem is he doesn't throw the ball on time. He doesn't throw the ball in rhythm, and his accuracy is a major problem. That ball to Dallas Goedert should have been out of his hands 2 seconds faster than when he let it go. And if he does that, if he throws it with anticipation, instead of Dallas having to, and come back for a ball, and instead of that ball hitting Bobby Wagner in the head, if he throws that ball out in front of Dallas Goedert, it's a touchdown, clearly. But on that same play, if you look to the left of the screen, you'll see there are 2 wide receivers that are wide open. And everyone wants to talk about they don't get open. I admit that these wide receivers can't get off the jam. I posted a tweet in game last week. I said, think about this, okay? Could it be that the way that they're coached and the way that their routes are designed, that these guys can't get off the jam? The other thing is, these wide receivers don't understand. Teams are looking at film, and what are they saying to themselves? Hey, we can jam these guys at the line of scrimmage. Most teams are afraid to get up and jam. You want to know why? Because they realize that if they miss the jam, that they're going to have problems. Guys are going to get wide open. There's big plays to be made. But because no other defense fears the speed of this team, they get up and they jam at the line of scrimmage. And my thing is, okay, you can get up and jam me, but you only get one jam in the 5-yard radius. Okay. So you tell me why these guys aren't winning at the line of scrimmage. They're not winning because when the defender jams them, guess what they do? They just try to run through the jam instead of using their hands and fighting. There's nothing in the rule books that say that wide receivers cannot use their hands to fight against defensive backs to get off the jam. So if you just try to run through the jam without fighting through the jam, guess what's going to happen? They're going to take you out of the route. And now you understand why some of these guys don't get the separation that we see. There are instances, there are times when Eagles wide receivers are wide open. And Carson Wentz misses them. I was watching some film today, and the thing that I see with Carson is that I think that pre-snap, he knows that he's not going to get a lot of time. So what does he do? He locks in. I'm going to this guy. And he's locked on that guy, and he's waiting for that guy to come free. And if that guy doesn't come free, it's a sack. Or he's got to do something magical to get out of it. It's not very often that you see him go through, his progression. He went through a progression last week. He threw a slant on the backside to Boston Scott. And Boston Scott was lined up against the Green Bay Packers' best cornerback. So that tells me that there was a mismatch somewhere else, that someone didn't win, that he was forced to start left and work all the way back to his right to throw a slant to a running back being covered one-on-one by a cornerback. Okay, so you talk about the flaws. And lastly, to talk about Carson and his inability, or the wide receiver's inability to get open for him. Carson waits for his receivers to get wide open before he'll let the ball go. That's why he's leading the league in sacks. Sometimes a quarterback has to be able to throw his wide receivers open. Sometimes you got to, with great anticipation. Listen, the wide receiver knows where the route's going. The quarterback knows where the route's going. You understand the timing of the route. You know the depth of the route. All of those things are important, okay? Put the ball in a situation where your receiver can catch the ball and put the ball in a position where if he can't catch it, it's an incomplete pass. But this whole theory that the wide receivers are never open, that there's never anyone to throw to, is not accurate. It's not accurate at all. Okay. And I think the video is ready. I'd like to pull up the first one. If it's the correct one, I want to go back to everything offensively is not Carson Wentz's fault. But on this play, this is a play that he has to make. And I get it. The offensive line has been playing terrible lately, and they're having problems picking up these games up front. And for everyone who keeps talking about how the wide receivers aren't open, not only did he have Dallas Goedert open and he underthrew him on this play, but I'm going to show you two wide open receivers that potentially Carson could have got the ball to for big gains as well. Now, he reads cover two, and he predetermines that he's going to Dallas Goedert and with this one-on-one matchup up the seam. But this ball should be let go right now. Right now, that ball should be let go. He's got to anticipate where he wants to throw the ball. If he throws that ball up the hash marks right now, that's either a touchdown or it's a big play for the Eagles, okay? But that ball's got to get out of his hands now. So as he begins to step up, here comes the pressure. The protection breaks down. He's still holding it. That ball should be out of his hands already. Okay? Now, talk about wide receivers not being open. Is that an Eagles wide receiver wide open? Is that an Eagles wide receiver wide open? Absolutely. But more importantly, Dallas Goedert is wide open. And when Carson lets this ball go, he's going to get hit. And everyone's going to say, yeah, well, he got hit. That's why he couldn't be accurate. No, you got to step into this understanding that you're going to get hit. And if you're going to get hit, you might as well complete the ball. This ball is woefully underthrown. So badly underthrown, you'll see right here, boom, hits Bobby Wagner in the head. That ball should be thrown out in front of Dallas Goedert. If it is, it's potentially a touchdown, or at least they're in plus territory where they're going to potentially get 3 points out of this. Carson Wentz has to make these types of plays. And I get it. I understand the pressure. You'll see the pressure here one more time. But he knows he's going to get hit, and you see him flinch. And because he flinches, instead of just stepping into it and receiving the blow, the Eagles miss out on a great opportunity after the defense has already stopped the Seattle offense twice on fourth down. Now, I want to bring in my guest tonight, and this guy I played with. You guys know him on social media. You guys know him on the NFL Network, the creator, Baldy's Breakdown, my old teammate, Brian Baldinger. Welcome to the Seth Joyner Show.
Well, Seth, man, it's good to see you, buddy.
Likewise.
Nice to join you here, man. Thanks for the invitation.
You got it.
It's been a tough season for you as, the Eagles inside analyst this year, man. It's hard. I mean, it's really hard right now to watch this team in just this level of dysfunction, Seth. So, I mean, I kind of feel for you on Sundays right now.
It is tough. It is tough. And you know, I queued up that video, and the timing was perfect because you posted that same video, and I reposted it again on Twitter today. You want to know why? Because your level of frustration with what you saw on that play, that the protection was there, that receivers were open, and Carson not getting the ball out. I think your quote was, "It doesn't get any easier than what you're seeing right here." See, because as the analyst, in-town analyst, everyone thinks that I'm a Wentz hater. You know, everybody, oh, you just hate Wentz.
Yeah.
You just want, Hurts to play. And my job, Brian, is to analyze what I see and give it to the fans the way that I see it. And truthfully. And sometimes, listen, the truth hurts when the Golden Boy isn't playing at the level that everybody wants or desires for him to play. But your frustration as a former Eagle and an analyst that's on the outside looking in is completely different. So it just so happened that video came up right as you were coming in. Give us your take on what you saw and your frustrations about what you see going on with this offense and Carson Wentz.
Well, look, look, let me turn it around on you here a second, Seth. Let's just say that you are Demario Davis this week, just a great linebacker for the Saints, right? Let's just say you're Demario Davis and you're going through the cut-ups of the Eagles, and you're looking, because I know this is how you thought your whole career. Like, there are certain quarterbacks that weren't going to beat your Eagle, Cardinal, Bronco defenses, Seth. They just weren't going to beat them. You weren't going to let them beat them. So my question to you, Seth, is if you were Demario Davis and you were looking at these cut-ups this week, and say Carson was still going another week, what would you say to your defense and your team? I mean, there's no way that you would say, this guy's not beating us on Sunday. We're going to give him the same thing. We're going to show him the same things that's making him flinch. We're going to show him the same things that he can't read right now. We're going to make it just as impossible as it has been over the last 5 weeks. I mean, what would you say analyzing it as a defender right now?
I would say, guys, this is a stat game.
Yeah.
We're
I'm going to Pro Bowl in this game, Seth.
We're about to eat. We're going to get sacks. We know that he's averaging, almost right around 2 turnovers a game, whether we're talking about interceptions. He's leading the league in interceptions. He's leading the league in fumbles. He's leading the league in, the amount of sacks he's given up. He's he's third from last in the league with 57 to 58%, completion percentage. We're like drooling in practice thinking about this game coming up, Baldinger.
No, I mean, look, from the first game of the season, Seth, when he was sacked 8 times, and hit so many more times. I mean, look, just watching Josh Allen play last night or watching Alex Smith play last night, the ball's getting out of their hands, Seth. I mean, he threw it to J.D. McKissick last night 10 times, caught all 10. I mean, he just kept the offense on schedule. And sometimes, there's going to be throws that you got to make in this league. Third downs, red zone, stick throws that you got to make if you're going to be a franchise quarterback. Okay, that separates those guys that aren't franchise quarterbacks and they're just guys. But you've got to help your team out. Your quarterback has got to. He's the reason why you become a franchise quarterback is you make everybody in the organization better. You make your offensive line better. You make your coaches better. And you make your secretaries better because you're helping them win games because of your decision making, because of your arm, because of your vision, because of your playmaking ability. It makes everybody better. Not everybody can be a Pro Bowl offensive lineman. You're not going to get that. But you're going to get breakdowns. But, you can't panic in the pocket. And I constantly see Carson panic in the pocket, just overreact. I mean, it'd be like, Seth, if we were in the ring and we were sparring and you hit me, all right, and I take it. I'm like, I'm not going to get hit again. I'm just going to parry the punch. I'm just going to slip it. Like, you watch these guys in the pocket, like Tom Brady is still slipping punches, but he's not panicking as soon as there's color showing or somebody gets beat. I mean, his reaction in the pocket. If I had to find one flaw in his game right now that bugs me more than any other, it's his overreaction in the pocket. And it's been like that all year since the Redskin game. Or the Washington game. I didn't think that the 8 sacks, I didn't think the offensive line played terrible. Jack Driscoll, the old guys that played. I thought they held up okay. But he created the sacks by what he did in the pocket. He did the same thing in Green Bay. And so the ball comes out where it's supposed to come out. I'm not saying all these designs are great, Steph. I think there's some flaws. I think there's plenty of flaws in the receiving core. I'm not sure why Alshon Jeffrey's on the field. There's flaws. But the quarterback can help cover up some of those right now.
Okay. So, I got to talk about this because no one wants to subscribe blame where blame belongs, especially when it comes to Carson. Mm-hmm. Okay. They want to talk about the offensive line. Then they want to go to the play caller. Mm-hmm. Then they want to go to Howie Roseman that, didn't give him all the tools that he needed. I had a guy on social media. We went back and forth last night. He was like, show me where the Eagles have supported Carson Wentz since they drafted him. I'm like, are you serious? Okay. They traded up to the number 2 pick overall to get him support. Okay. They brought him in after saying he was going to sit down the first year. They got rid of Sam Bradford and they made him the starter week 1. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then they turned around after the injury and after winning the Super Bowl, and they got Nick Foles out of here. They put that to rest, and then they paid him last year a year ahead of schedule. Mm-hmm. Okay, franchise money.
Didn't have to.
And they didn't have to. They could have waited another year. Mm-hmm. Then they go into the draft, and we can debate, who they should have picked and what they picked. Okay, they should have took Justin Jefferson.
You're sitting right there.
They should have used the second-round pick on another wide receiver. Mm-hmm. They didn't do it, okay? But listen, last year they drafted 3 wide receivers. Mm-hmm. They traded for one that opted out. So you can't say that they haven't supported him. What else do you want them to do?
Well, I believe, I know Joe Douglas really well and Andy Weidel and some of those guys in the front office. I'm not going to pretend that Howie doesn't, usurp their authority sometimes. Mm-hmm. Make his own decisions, but that's all right. I mean, the model, Seth, when they went up twice, traded up twice to get Carson, was, and this was their model, and I've repeated it because I believe this is what they have tried to do, that they were never going to stop building around Carson, just the way the Buffalo Bills have never stopped building around Josh Allen. Now you could debate, the left tackle they drafted, or you could debate Jalen Reagor, you could debate that, but those were picks made with the idea that we were going to continue to support, protect, that we were going to keep giving weapons to Carson. You got 2 tight ends. They've drafted wide receivers. They've drafted offensive linemen. Heck, they even brought Jason Peters back. They didn't have to, but let's see if he can play guard to see if we can give him the best protection possible. They've got one of the highest paid right tackles in football, Lane Johnson. I know he's been injured, but I mean, They have never stopped building around him. He's got plenty to work with. And you can look at what a lot of quarterbacks have and what they've done with what Tom Brady had in New England, or you could look at what Alex Smith is throwing to in Washington as they keep winning games right now, whatever. I mean, you have to take what you have and make the best out of it. And I think they've got some good players. I think Greg Ward is a good slot receiver. I think they've got enough. It's not – what some of these other teams might have. It's not a luxury of riches, but there's enough to win with.
Well, okay, so then let's talk about, and I'm not absolving, because I see, some of my viewers, James Russell, he's saying, hey, you're dead wrong. Hey, listen, maybe I am, okay? But at the end of the day, Carson has to take some responsibility in making himself better, okay? You got to make better decisions in the pocket. You got to throw the ball away where you got to throw it away, and you got to take the sacks where you need to take them, but you got to get the ball out of your hand. You got to take off and run. You've got to do something to change where you are. So this debate has been going on for weeks. Do we move to Jalen Hurts? Does Carson stay in? And everyone kept saying, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. My thing is, Baldy, is competition rules the world of football. It
Definitely.
always has.
Definitely.
Okay. The only position where competition doesn't rule is the quarterback position. Because when you draft a guy number 2 overall, he's your guy. He's going to be your guy. There's just no ifs, ands, and there's no competition there unless there's an injury. Okay. So now you hear the reports that Carson, didn't like the fact that they drafted Jalen Hurts. He doesn't, he's been looking over his shoulder. And I've got this picture of Carson and Jalen in practice, and Carson looking at him, and this look on his face is like, I can't believe that they even brought this guy here. It's just, there's this look of disdain. And everyone's talking about, how it's affected him. And listen, his play has put him in this situation. And if Carson Wentz is afraid of competition, then the Eagles made a massive mistake, not only in drafting him, but paying him what they paid him last year.
Well, Seth, look, I actually was an advocate of using the 53rd pick on Jalen Hurts. I liked him. I liked him at Alabama. I loved him at Oklahoma. And I thought, because the Eagles have played 6 postseason games in the last 3 years, and Carson has played a grand total of 9 snaps in those 6 postseason games, like, they needed not just an insurance policy, they needed to start developing somebody in case this happened again. Now he's been healthy all year. It's been great. But, he was healthy all last year and he got hurt, by Jadeveon Clowney. There's, at some point you got to say, man, this is really dangerous. Now, you don't challenge Drew Brees, and they haven't challenged Drew Brees because there was no need to. Until last year, he played every snap. Tom Brady, you didn't challenge Tom Brady. He played every snap. There's certain guys, Russell Wilson, there's no reason to challenge him. He started every game he's been there. But if you've got a track record of missing games, big chunks of seasons, getting knocked out of games, then as an organization, you should address that position. And so I was an advocate. And quite frankly, I was an advocate. I remember, you probably remember this too, Seth, but I remember when Donovan really was struggling one year, and he had a horrible game against the Ravens, and Andy Reid sat him down. And, I know, Donovan didn't take it well. Nobody thought that he ever would, but it was a good thing for him. And I thought that the best thing a couple of weeks ago was to sit Carson down for a week. Let him not feel any pressure. Let's see what Jalen could do. And I think the organization may have thought of it too, but they're like, well, what if Jalen outplays Carson? Well, so what? Good. Keep him in there. Like, they got to win games, make the team better. But I was an advocate of just sitting him down. But after these last 2 games, Seattle and last week, I was like, you got to sit him, because the performance isn't good enough. And it doesn't. People can direct message you, Seth. I see the same stuff about you're a Carson hater, or what about the offensive line? What about this? What about? Forget it. The quarterback has got to play good. He has to perform. And there's a certain standard that a quarterback has to play at. And if you're not meeting those standards, the way Seth Joyner, if you weren't at linebacker or I was an offensive line, then replace me, because that's just the nature of our business.
You're watching the Seth Joyner Show. My special guest today is my ex-teammate Brian Baldinger. Brian, I want to upload. I want to put up a video of Jalen Hurts' completion to Jalen Reagor once he came into the game. I've already pre-narrated, but when it's done, let's chat about it.
All right.
If you guys,
third and four, first pass of the game for him.
Yes. If want to dispel some myths about the performance of Jalen Hurts. On this play, it's 3rd and 4, and everyone says he faced all of these prevent defenses. But this is a blitz. It's a zone blitz coming down at the bottom of the screen on the left side of the defense. Jalen identifies the blitz. He sees what's coming. Miles Sanders gets his protection wrong, and the blitzer comes free. Jalen Hurts just stands in the pocket and just calmly evaluates what's going on. He throws a good ball with anticipation, a good ball with timing, and he basically drops this ball in the bucket to Jalen Reagor. Now, I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is the end-all to be-all, the fix for the Philadelphia Eagles. But he's making plays like this where Carson Wentz has made far and few of these types of plays all season long. I like the fact that the Eagles are going to Jalen Hurts against the New Orleans Saints.
So, Seth, if you can back that play up and just freeze it, can you freeze it at a certain point? I just want to show one thing in that play.
I wish I could. My guys are controlling that.
Because what was interesting about that play, Seth, to me was this: is Goddard runs a bow out right there, and it's enough for the first down. He's got the throw. He never even to me he never even considered it. He was taking the go route all the way. He stood in there. The blitzer was coming right at him, like he made the throw. And there was a part of me that said, maybe this is what Jalen is. Like, yeah, he can take the first down throw, and nobody would say a thing. You got a first down, first set of downs. Like, he was looking to attack on that throw. And if you're going to make that now, it's not the same percentage throw as the out to Goddard is. But if you're going to make the throw, make the throw. And you couldn't make the throw any better than that. And everybody runs go routes in this league. I mean, everybody does. Can you win the one-on-one go route? So for a lot of these receivers in the league, it's their favorite route because they get a chance to really, no matter what the coverage is, they can jump early, they can use their body, they can go back shoulder. It's a 50-50 ball. I'm going to show you that I can beat you. And everybody is in a one-on-one game. Receivers love that route. It's me and you. It's nobody else. There's no safeties. It's us down the sideline. Usually, I don't care if it's Julio Jones or if it's Devontae Adams. They love that route. Give me a chance with it. And I thought Jalen took the chance, and it was the right one.
Now, as a defensive player, you look at that film, and you're pulling your hair out. You're saying, make the easy throw and get the first down because we want the offense to stay on the field. Okay? Right. But I put that up because, I want everyone to see that all the things that everyone said that Jalen Hurts couldn't do, that he couldn't stand in the pocket. His arm wasn't strong enough. He wasn't an accurate thrower. Listen, I remember when he was at Alabama, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a beach ball. Mm-hmm. Okay. And Tua came in and took his job. Mm-hmm. But what I like about this kid now is that he went from Alabama to Oklahoma in one offseason and completely transformed himself.
No, but what was even better about it to me, though, Seth, is not only did he get replaced, but I do college football on Saturdays, but in college football in this world now, when you get replaced, you transfer. Mm-hmm. You leave. You go someplace else. You don't compete. He stayed the next year, Seth, right. And he competed. Now, Tua beat him out. But in the SEC championship game against Georgia, Tua got hurt, and Jalen came in and won the game for him. And there was a part of me that said, that kid just likes competition. And he graduated. That's why he was able to transfer to Oklahoma. So he graduated in 3 years. But he didn't run. He didn't transfer. He didn't take the easy way out. He stayed there, and he got humbled. And then he goes to Oklahoma, and under Lincoln Riley, with some really good players around him, he flourished.
Yes.
Like, he threw the ball out better. His eyes were much better. But regardless, he's always carries himself with poise. Always. He never looks flustered. He's smooth. He's just smooth in the way that he moves. And I've seen him chased by Myles Garrett at Texas A&M in a game against Alabama. I've seen Baylor chase him all over the field. I never see him get flustered. And there's a quality about him that has that.
Well, and that's what I love about that play that I put up is, listen, he identified what was coming. It's not like he didn't know. You don't make that throw without pre-snap knowledge that, hey, there's a blitz coming, okay? And I've watched enough film to see, they're sugaring one way, but they're really coming over here.
Right.
And the unbelievable thing is Miles Sanders missed the blitz pickup.
Totally. You do that a lot, Seth.
Yeah.
They're horrible, man.
Listen, I mean, he misses the blitz pickup, but Jalen doesn't flinch. No. He stands in there. He knows he's about to get blasted, and he stepped into it. That's the difference between the play. That's the difference between the play that we started off with in Carson flinching, okay, and Jalen standing in the pocket knowing that he's about to get blown up. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, listen, it's football. You're going to get hit as a quarterback. You're not always going to have a clean pocket. So if you're going to get hit, you might as well step up and complete the ball. And that's exactly what he did against blitz coverage.
Yeah. Well, I just put out, just before I came on, Seth, I just took 10 snaps of Jalen. And I showed sort of the good, the bad, and a little bit of the ugly. Mm-hmm. Some of it was on receiver. Like, one thing that bugs me about this receiving core, Seth, is I'm not saying T.O. was the best receiver we've seen. But when T.O. was here with Donovan, just the way Stephon Diggs does with Josh Allen right now, or DeAndre Hopkins, there's some receivers in this league. When the play breaks down, damn it, they're getting to the ball. They're going to stop that route. They're going to go fight. They'll knock anybody over. They're going to come and get the ball. I'm waiting for a receiver when the quarterback gets flushed to come back and go get it. Come get yourself a catch. Stephon Diggs got 90 catches this year. I saw him catch 2 last night when the play broke down. Like, he's getting the damn ball. Like, it's my ball. And I'm waiting for some dog in one of these receivers to be like that. And I put 2 plays of the 10 where there's not one receiver coming back to help Jalen Hurts out.
Well, it's funny that you say that because, I think the Eagles, when you're drafting players, you have to determine so much more than what you see on the field and the metrics that you gather, at the combine. There's the mental mindset. Does this guy love football? Does he eat, sleep, drink football? Is he a workout warrior? Is he highly competitive? I see a bunch of puppies on the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see a whole lot of dogs at wide receiver or any other position for that matter. The problem with the wide receivers, listen, I was extremely excited for the wide receiver group because Aaron Moorhead took over as the wide receivers coach this year. Now, it's their 4th wide receiver coach in Doug's 5-year tenure, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm like, my gosh, now we finally got a guy who played in the NFL that can teach these guys how to run routes. This is the problem I see with the Eagles wide receivers, okay? They don't fight at the line of scrimmage. They don't fight, to get open. Their routes, they seem like they just run routes. There's no setup to their route.
No creativity to it, Seth. There's setup. There's no
stem at the top of the route. Nothing. And that just plays into the defender's hands. Totally. If I know you're going to run an out route and you don't give me a stem at the top of the route, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump the out route.
Well, it's funny, Seth. I just put a play on from Sunday. So it's Hightower and Rager. And they're running these vertical routes against the cover 3. So you got, Jair Alexander on one side, you got King on the other. I mean, they're literally just running with the receivers. And they're just sitting on either whether they run the out cut or they're running the comeback, they're just sitting on it. And Jalen's just waiting for him to do something. And like nobody's doing anything on these routes except running. And like these corners are just sitting there and there's no place to go. And you see it a lot. So they need a lot of work, man. There's no question about that.
Okay, so give me your opinion. What needs to happen on the offensive side of the ball? I mean, listen, I believe that this year's a wash. I think that Jalen Hurts should finish the year as the starting quarterback because I think that, Carson Wentz is so mentally, physically, and psychologically beat down right now that there's no great benefit to playing him anymore this year. A lot of people will disagree because of what you're paying him, and he's supposed to be the guy. He'll come into camp next year, and he'll be the guy. He should still be the number 1 quarterback. And let's kind of open it up to a little bit of competition and see how he deals with competition. But when you look at the overall picture, we don't run the ball. The offensive line is a mess. We got, some young guys that are still learning how to play, and we got some old guys that need to hang up their cleats and call it a career. Mm-hmm. So what's the fix? What's the fix for Doug Peterson if he remains the head coach? What's the fix for Howie Roseman if he remains, the GM? Just on the offensive side of the ball, because, the last 20 minutes of the show or so, I'm not going to let the defense off the hook. You know that.
Yes. Well, I mean, the first thing they have to do, Seth, to me, is stop the bleeding. Because we have seen many teams just hit a downward spiral and they can't get out of it. And so who's going to step up and fight to stop the bleeding? Look, I don't care if it's the Saints, I don't care who's coming to town or who they play. They've got 4 shots here to stop this bleeding. That's the first thing. If they don't, then it's going to be so toxic that you just got to clean the whole thing up. I mean, that's what happens to organizations. You know, it gets so toxic inside of a building that you got to just pressure wash the whole thing, top to bottom. And I feel like if they don't get out of this tailspin, because they have a lot of age on this roster at a lot of positions. And so the worst thing you can do, especially in a world next year, a salary cap is going to be reduced and they're in trouble in some positions. The worst thing any organization to do is get old and non-productive from those players. And they've got a lot of non-production from older players. So, I mean, I remember talking to Ron Rivera in Washington, not to get off subject, but he had Adrian Peterson there. And he goes, and he was the best running back by far. He's like, I don't think I'm going to keep him. I go, who are you going to go with? He goes, I got a rookie, Antonio Gibson. I'm going to go with my young guys. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We're a young team. We've got enough veterans here. And he made that move, and it was the right move. And so, you know, sometimes with young players, to me, Seth, like the Vikings are going through this now. You're going to lose games because of youth and inexperience. But if they're the right players like you talked about, if they've got the right mettle, you're going to win with them late. They're going to help. Like the Vikings young players are turning it around for them right now. But to see the age on this roster and then the production from those players, that's, you know, that will put you in the cellar real quick.
So is it a rebuild or is it a retool?
I think it's a rebuild to me, Seth. I mean, I think look, in some ways, like what happened in 2017 was remarkable. It was a phenomenal story. It's never going to go away. But if you really examine the locker room, they had the best locker room they've ever had. You know, they had LeGarrette Blount. He got replaced, you know, and he didn't bitch, but he was a great team player. He loved his role. He loved playing. You look at Chris Long. And you just go through player to player to player. Mm-hmm. Patrick Robinson, role players on that team. Stephen Means gave them reps at defensive end. You know, I mean, you pick out guys. They had the right locker room. They loved to practice. They went at it in practice. You know, there was no cancers. They cleaned that thing out, and that locker room won the Super Bowl. It was the strength of a united group. And so a lot of guys are hanging around here in all phases of this organization from that victory. And at some point you have to go, all right, that's long gone. And we're not anywhere near where we were there. So to me, it looks like a rebuild to me.
Well, two of the biggest issues, in my opinion, is leadership. Because when you talk about some of those guys that are no longer on the roster, you lost massive leadership. And leadership is defined by production. If you're not producing, then you have no voice. Right. If you have no voice and you start chattering, what's going to happen is you cause more problems than you solve.
Right.
Okay. That's to me, that's what happened last week when Carson Wentz tried to step forward. You know, Doug kind of admonished him to, you know, kind of admit that, hey, you know, I haven't played well. I'm going to take some accountability. To me, it was kind of window washing because in week 12, now all of a sudden, you know, you got this great admission that you haven't played well. You ain't been playing well, you know, since week 1, you know, so and that's all in an attempt to have him step into that role as a leader. But as bad as he's played, his voice is silent to the rest of the roster. Mm-hmm. And then at the other end of the spectrum, with the misses that they've had from the free agent market to draft picks, you know, do you trust Howie Roseman to rebuild this thing, or do you go in a whole different direction?
Well, I mean, if you look at teams that are on the way up right here, Seth, I mean, you look at what the Giants have done since week 1 till now. I don't know if any team has done more and come further than what they have done. You look at what the Miami Dolphins and Brian Flores is doing. Like, they sold off all their good players, you know, Laramie Tunsil, and sold off a bunch of good players, got assets, and they're rebuilding it. And they're on the right path. And Buffalo, they just, you know, they got Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott in there, and they built it together, and they got their quarterback, and they're a fun team to watch, and they're in the right direction. So, I mean, you can point to certain organizations around this league, Seth, that said, we're going to start fresh, coach, general manager, and we're going to build this thing. We're going to build it the right way. Now, we got to see what the results are. The Eagles did a lot with what they had. 2017, 2018, they were good years. But this is miles away from that. And it is painful to watch this team play right now. And I don't think that you can just retool it, to me, Seth. I don't think there's a retool. Unless Jalen Hurts becomes Patrick Mahomes. And then you can go, okay, we know what we have to do. And maybe, who knows? You never know until somebody plays what you're going to see and what can happen. We've seen it. We've seen, guys get replaced all the time and elevate teams. Kurt Warner replaced Trent Green and became the foundation of the greatest show on turf. It's been happening throughout the history of the NFL. So, but to me, this looks like this has got to be a real rebuild right now.
Man, that is sad news to the Eagles faithful. I want to jump over to the defensive side of the ball before we wrap up here, because the way that the Eagles defense came out and played against Seattle 2 weeks ago, and the way that they came out and played against the Packers, they're like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like two different defenses. I mean,
did they cover a tight end last week, Seth? Did they cover one tight end last week? I mean, how do you just turn guys loose?
No, and listen, okay. So if my guys, I'm gonna give them a minute to queue up the Packer defensive video. I want to talk about Tunyon and his touchdown.
Yeah.
And again, it's self-narrated, and then we'll get into it.
All right.
But they just look like a completely different team from 1 week to the next. I mean, they got with the Seattle Seahawks from a defensive perspective. Mm-hmm. Two fourth down stops, one on the goal line and one in midfield, when Seattle was basically saying, we don't think offensively you have enough on offense, so we're just going to go for it. And whether we make it or not, we'll live with the consequences of that. And they still wound up winning the game because the Eagles couldn't give them anything offensively after those two stops. And then they come out this week against Aaron Rodgers, and they look like they were playing against the big bad wolf, and they were scared to death to do anything. The most telling play on the defensive side of the ball for me was that long touchdown run at the end.
Jones, 77 yards.
6 guys missed tackles, man. 6 guys.
Seth, it's 23-16 game. You're praying for a stop. You need a stop. That's all.
You have to have one.
You got to get a stop there. I love Aaron Jones. He's a good player, but 77 yards in this league, Seth, that happens like once every 8 weeks. It happens 5 times in a whole season. It can't happen. You can't get gutted like that.
Okay, so I can't pull that video up. I'll post it on social media so you guys can see it, but I'll walk you through it. That touchdown to Tunyon, it was the Packers' second touchdown. Mm-hmm. They had a 3-by-2, a back in the backfield, and a split out, the X split out. And I for the life of me, I've seen every coverage.
What coverage were they in, Seth? I can't figure it out.
Listen, we're on the same thing. We're on the same page. I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out the coverage. And what I deciphered it to be, they were in man on the weak side, and they were in zone to the 3 receiver side on the strong side. Okay. But the rule is, okay, if you're the inside backer and you're matched to number 3, when that guy crosses your face or he enters your zone, you have to carry him.
Got to carry it.
Okay. So Jalen Mills sits down, Alex Singleton sits down inside, right, and you've got the 2 guys on the backside, man to man, and Tunyon just runs to. Now, the Eagles almost got Aaron on a sack, but he gets out of the sack and he throws the ball to Tunyon for a touchdown. And I'm like, my goodness, these are the type of plays that plague this team. Mm-hmm. They seem like they're unprepared, like they don't know what to do. Like, okay, I'm sure Jalen Mills and Alex Singleton knew they were in zone, okay? And they knew that it was man to their left. But come on, the coaching point is there's nobody in that backside third. There's nobody to help you, Alex Singleton.
Aaron Rodgers.
You got to run.
Rodgers never going to miss that, Seth. He's never going to miss it. To me, I mean, it's almost like Mercedes Lewis got turned wide open on a bootleg, like nobody picked him up. Devontae Adams runs a crossing route, and it looks like Slay's supposed to be a man coverage, but maybe Jalen Mills is, and nobody runs with Slay or with Devontae. He's only their best player in the team. Like it just, I saw them turn 3 players loose, and I'm going, is that communication, pre-snap communication? Is the call nut coming in right? I mean, there's so many different things that we don't know on the outside about why something like that happens. And of course, you're not going to get an answer to any of these questions in the media. So, it really, which would help clean a lot of the stuff up, just to like step up and say what happened rather than like let everybody speculate what would happen. So somebody isn't like torched when they shouldn't be torched, but that's what they allow to happen. They allow that to happen in Philadelphia over and over again.
Well, guys don't take accountability for it either. Darius Slay came out after the Seattle game and said, hey, that was the worst game I ever played. I did not win one 50-50 battle, okay? How many guys do you see in post-game interviews or interviews through the week that own up to the mistakes? And then I see a young guy, like Kayvon Wallace on social media admonishing people, on social media. I'm like, dude, shut up and sit down, man. You haven't done anything. Shut up and sit down. You have
people don't even know that Kayvon has even played in a game.
Listen, man, I don't understand what's going on. You bring up a good point, is communication. When you see guys running across your defense, or you see a guy running by himself down the field, that tells me that there's a lack of pre-snap communication. There should be so much chatter and so much talk and so much communication going on before play starts. You're alerting your teammates to what might happen. You're anticipating what might be happening. Okay, and if we're switching guys off, then we need to be talking about that pre-snap. That stuff just doesn't happen. You have to be talking about it. So if the conversation isn't happening, the communication isn't there, that's when you see breakdowns. And then the other thing, the biggest thing for me is a telltale sign is I'm always watching players' eyes because I want to know what they're looking at. Because what you see determines what you do. Okay. And if a linebacker or a safety is looking in the wrong places, when I see the Eagles play zone defense, I see guys get to their landmarks and then they look at the quarterback. They have no idea what's going on around them. They're not pattern reading.
That's why I said they never come up with interceptions. They never intercept the ball because they don't have any awareness. And I'm still waiting for a linebacker. I'm waiting for one Seth Joyner moment this season when some linebacker just plasters somebody. And like awareness, you can catch these guys. I never see the ball pop loose, Seth. I just don't see it happen.
Well, you don't see it pop loose because they're not playing full speed because they're not sure this is what happens. And you see this with young guys. This is why coaches don't like young players. Yeah, at least the old coaches didn't like rookie players. Right. This is why Buddy Ryan called me 59 for 2 years.
Right.
Because you know what? They don't like players that don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
Okay. They see the potential and they know that growth has to come, but it's almost like a rite of passage. We're not going to call you by your name. We're not going to give you the respect until you earn it.
Sure.
So when I'm looking at these players, these young players, and even some of the older players, they're not going 100. You can only go 120 miles per hour when you know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
When there's indecision, you're going 50 in 100 lane, and everybody's flying by you, or they're trying to run you off the road. So when I'm watching this team play, they're not sure what they're supposed to do. They're not sure where they're supposed to fit. Especially on the back end.
Well, the bizarre part about I agree with you, Seth, but the bizarre part about that, it's not like they're playing any rookies. They don't have any rookies out there. They got all players that have played. There's no rookies that are in big spots. There's no rookie corners or safeties out there. All these guys have played. So, and a lot of them have been in the system a long time. So that's I don't know where to put that.
Listen, is it preparation? Is it coaching? Because, listen, I just think that preparation is such a big part of it, especially on the defensive side of the ball, so much more so than the offense. The offense knows the play. They know the snap count. They know where they're going. They know what they're doing. It's all predetermined. Now, you may have some adjustments, at the line of scrimmage, or you might have route adjustments based upon technique on the defensive side of the ball. But as a defensive player, it's all about preparation, because if you're not anticipating, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell at making a play. You've got to study enough to know that, okay, this is what they're in. This is the down and distance. This is the part of the field that they're on. And this is the tendency. This is what they like to do. Now, does that mean I just run right to it? No, but I'm anticipating that they might run it, because if I'm anticipating it, that gives me an extra step to be able to get there and make the play. And you do not see that on the defensive side of the ball for this football team. They always seem like they're a step behind.
Well, they play some bizarre defense. I mean, watching Avonte Maddox play 12 yards off the slowest receiver in the league last week, like Alan Lazard. I know Alan. He's a nice guy. He's a big Iowa State kid. He's 6'5". I mean, literally, Seth, he runs a 4.8 40. I mean, he wasn't drafted. And to see Avonte give him a cushion like that, I go, is there a scout report on these guys? Like, you can run backwards faster than Allen can run forward. And to give him a cushion and one, like Aaron Rodgers sees that, like he's not even, I don't care what the huddle call is. He's throwing it to Lazard. He's going to take 10 yards in the first down. He must have done it 3 times to him. I see some of these things. I just shake my head sometimes.
It's the same thing on the defensive side of the ball as far as the secondary is concerned. I was excited, that they got a new secondary coach. Mm-hmm. I thought that they would be, fundamentally and technically better than they've ever been. But when I watched them play, and sometimes you have to wonder, listen, we've never seen Darius Slay get beat up like he's gotten beaten up the last two weeks. Now, granted, most guys, with the exception of Jalen Ramsey, most guys are going to get worked like that against DK Metcalf. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, where was the help? You leave that guy on an island by himself all day long. And then from a technical standpoint, that was another video that I wanted to put up. It's like these guys, they get up and bump position. Okay. Now,
and just bail.
I'm a linebacker. Okay. And I was trained in how to play man-to-man coverage, because we'd have to go down every day and go one-on-one against the wide receivers. And to me, that was like insanity. Mm-hmm. Why? But unbeknownst to me, what it did is it trained me the proper way to play man-to-man coverage. And if I could do that against a wide receiver, if I could do that against Mike Quick and Fred Barnett and Calvin, Calvin Johnson, not Calvin Johnson. I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember Cal's name. But if I could do that against those guys, then I could eat up tight ends and running backs. Yeah. Like good birthday cake. But when I see these guys, they get up and they're in bump and they step backwards or they bail. I was always trained, if you get up and press, then you put your hands on the guy.
You know what Rex Ryan used to tell me, Seth, when he was defensive coordinator? He goes, step up and clean it up, back up and give it up. I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, it's just an old thing that I remember Rex telling me I've never forgotten. Step up and clean it up. Whether it's a linebacker stepping up and, so that Aaron Jones can't get started like he did, or whether it's a cornerback. But as soon as you back up and you give these guys space and room, like it's the beginning of the end.
Well, and the other thing is how teams are playing tight ends now. I submit to you that teams are game planning the flaws of defenses so much more than they, as Calvin Williams. My goodness, they are game planning the flaws of defensive players so much more than they're these like. Everyone wants to think that these offensive coordinators have come up with something brand new, that they're these new offensive gurus. They're just game planning the flaws of defenses now. Like the Eagles' defensive ends, on play away, guess what they do? They crash every time. So you can run bootlegs and misdirections at them all day, and you're going to have
Brandon Graham cheating. He's cheating on it all the time.
Well, but they're coached to play it that way. Play away, close, because they want to take away the cutback and get tackles for losses. I have no problem with that, but then you got to take your linebacker and loop him back outside. You got to have somebody, to contain the football. It's the same exact thing from a technique flaw. If I'm a wide receiver and I got a cornerback lined up on me outside, and I'm the X receiver, and they got 3 guys away from me, I know I can have a slant route all day long. You're asking this guy to do something that's physically impossible for him to do. Yeah, you might run a 4-4, but the guy that's playing wide receiver runs a 4-3, and you're giving him free access inside. It's the same thing with tight ends. I'm watching Travis Kelce on Monday Night Football, and he is just roasting offenses because guess what? They give him free access all game long. Nobody ever gets up and jams him. No one ever impedes him. What they don't realize that if you jam him at the line of scrimmage, you take that one jam, you throw off the time in the route. And if he's the number 1 guy in the progression and he's not at 10 yards, he's at 7 yards instead of at 10, Patrick Mahomes got to come off of him. Listen, these are things that we know as players sitting back, being analysts for the game. You mean to tell me the offense and defense coordinators don't understand these principles?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we can go around and around here, Seth, for a long time. I gotta get on one other thing I gotta do here.
No problem, my friend.
But I'll be happy to join you every time. It's great talking football with you and joining you here tonight, Seth. I'm anxious. I'm doing a game Sunday for national radio here in Philly. I'm anxious to watch Jalen perform. I want to see what they do offensively for him, how they package him, and what they allow him to do. I'm anxious to watch it against a really sound defense right now.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it is that this kid can do. In my opinion, he can't do any worse than Carson Wentz has done, over 11-week span. And listen, I appreciate your time. I tell my guests every week, Brian, that our most valuable commodity is our time. I appreciate you spending the last 61 minutes of your time with me. Appreciate it, man. Good seeing you again, my friend. Be well.
Great, Seth. I will. Right. You too now. Be well, buddy. Right. Take care.
That's my show, guys. I want to thank Brian Baldinger for joining me tonight. My producers, Tom Schrader and Derek Stevenson. Joining me next week will be my ex-teammate from the Arizona Cardinals, my time in Arizona, Aeneas Williams. He will be joining me to break down the Eagles versus Cardinals matchup coming up, talk some X's and O's like we did tonight. I'll see you guys then. Hey, as always, take care of each other and be good to each other. But more importantly, make sure that you love each other. I'll see you guys right back here next week. Peace.